Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Cam.
Call the buzz. We're calling.
Take him back! Take him out!
You die in prison as well.
I'd just like to say that I am deeply sorry for the family.
Stop, please! Stop!
First up, we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where police officers are in hot pursuit of the man you just saw apologize, 19-year-old Christian Dix. It's 7 months earlier, and Dix just spent the past hour embarking on a one-man crime spree around the city. The series of events began when he shot and killed 23-year-old Stephanie Martinez, a complete stranger who was riding her bike on the side of the road. He then drove to a giant gas station and stole several packs of cigarettes at gunpoint. Not done, he robbed cash from a second giant gas station, then fired 2 shots in the air before fleeing. With law enforcement now on his tail, Dix leads authorities on a car chase in an attempt to get away. As the police close in, he dumps the black Mazda and tries to outrun the officers on foot.
Stop, please! Stop!
Dix may have thought hoofing it through the brush offered his best chance of escape in the moment,
Stop! Right now! On the ground!
but his plan fails.
I have one at gunpoint. Get on the ground! On your stomach right now! Do not move!
There he is with his hands up. Shortly after, he ends up face down in handcuffs. As police take Dix into custody, he sounds confused by his arrest and questions authorities as to why he's being hauled to the police station. He claims he doesn't remember the murder and 2 armed robberies he's just committed.
So I'm wondering, what are we arrested for those never... So all that stuff will be explained to you once the detectives get here.
Now in court, Dix comes face to face with Steve Martinez, the father of Stephanie Martinez, the woman he gunned down on the side of the road.
I don't know if he realizes what he did. For whatever reason, God only knows, I don't know.
Dix never provides an explanation for taking the life of a complete stranger, but offers remorse for the pain he's inflicted on the Martinez family. He's even seen shedding a tear in court.
I'd just like to say that I am deeply sorry for the family.
Dix enters a guilty plea to Judge Charles Brown.
I plead guilty. You won't be able to withdraw from this plea or training. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Dix's apology doesn't hold much sway with Judge Brown. His deadly crime spree will cost second-degree murder and armed robbery. Next, we head to Las Vegas, Nevada, for the arraignment of 25-year-old Alonzo Perez. He's charged in the murder of Muhammad Robinson. The crime occurred when Perez and a woman stopped at a North Vegas fast food restaurant. After someone failed to hold the door open, words were exchanged, and then Perez allegedly shot the victim dead. The FBI apprehended Perez and handed him over to the North Vegas police for questioning. At 11:57 a.m., Perez is left alone in the interrogation room, handcuffed to a metal bar on the table. Police are supposed to monitor the suspect through a small video camera. As he waits, Perez looks around the room, and it seems the wheels are turning. After nearly 10 minutes, it's clear Perez isn't interested in sticking around. He begins leaning into the cuffs in an effort to snap the steel bracelets. Not likely, right? But somehow, using his own body weight of 200 pounds, he breaks free. Now he must decide his next move. Instead of making a run for it, he remains calm. Watch now, he places his hands as if to disguise the broken cuffs. He even rests his head on the table, perhaps to keep the broken cuffs hidden from the police watching the room. After a few minutes of carefully surveying the space, he knows exactly what he wants to do. Using a stab, he pulls himself up to the ceiling and breaks through. Just like that, he's gone, leaving nothing behind but a water bottle, some busted up ceiling insulation, and a soon-to-be embarrassed police unit. Perez makes it to the street, where he then steals a pickup truck, and the murder suspect drives off into the night. It will be another 40 minutes before police even realize Perez is gone. A manhunt begins, as the North Vegas police must admit they failed to properly monitor the suspect.
I wish it hadn't happened, but it did.
Now we take steps to prevent it from happening again. We're not perfect. The police are simply not perfect.
It takes 5 days before authorities finally capture Perez without incident. When they do, police charge him with 2 other previous murders and a separate motel shooting nearly 2 months before his escape. That's Perez and a girlfriend leaving the motel. They're angry with the manager who wouldn't let them enter the lobby because the couple were fighting. Perez takes aim at the front office, but his gun jams. He gets off a total of 5 rounds. Thankfully, no one was hit. When he's brought before the judge via video conference, Perez is facing multiple felonies, including murder, felony escape, and grand larceny.
Well, sir, your total bail is $1,620,000.
Perez shows if convicted, Perez could be sentenced to death.
There was no driving. I was completely parked.
Next, we go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, for the case against Scott Owens. He's been charged with his 3rd DWI and is about to learn if he's headed to jail. While Owens received his first DWI back in 2001, things took a tragic turn a few years later when he crashed his Jeep into a car full of teens. The driver was severely injured, while the 4 passengers, all teenagers, were killed. A second car with friends of the victims witnessed the crash and called 911.
Are they breathing? No, I don't know. I can't tell. Hold on, Chad. None of them have a pulse.
When Owens was arrested, his blood alcohol was twice the legal limit.
The person is alive. I mean, he sounds pretty drunk or out of it. I have no idea.
Owens claimed he was not responsible for the crash. The district attorney disagreed, and Owens was charged with vehicular manslaughter. If convicted, he could face up to 27 years in prison. At the trial, the prosecution focused on witness testimony from the second vehicle at the crash to make their case.
I was behind Avery's car. I saw her go into the other lane, and I saw headlights swerve from my lane into hers. I saw a Jeep hit her car.
Yet, when Owens' attorney made his case, he admitted his client was drunk, but argued he didn't cause the accident. As part of his defense, he challenged the witness's memory and her testimony.
And then Sergeant McLaughlin asked you if you could tell where the headlights were at, right?
Correct.
And then you said no because I wasn't paying enough attention, correct?
Correct.
The defense also used an accident reconstructionist to create doubt about the state's case, and the jury returned with a verdict of not guilty. Though Owens spent 22 months in jail awaiting the trial, he was now a free man. But it didn't take long for Owens to land in trouble again. A few years later, he was pulled over while speeding in a dune buggy. When officers smelled alcohol, he was asked to take a sobriety test.
I want you to focus on the tip of my finger, okay?
After a few missteps, officers asked Owens to take a breathalyzer test.
You want to take this test? No? Okay, your choice.
Owens pleaded guilty to his second DWI, a misdemeanor. He's sentenced to a year of probation and served 146 days in jail. After dodging 2 bullets, 4 years later, Owens has yet another incident. This time he's parked in front of his ex-girlfriend's house, who then calls the police.
My ex-boyfriend's been stalking me.
When police arrive, they find empty liquor bottles, pot, and an extremely intense...
I was parked. I was staying in the vehicle, sir. But I have reason to believe that you were driving it. No, I was staying parked.
Owens decides to argue that he wasn't actually driving the vehicle. Though in New Mexico, like in many states, you can still get arrested for a DUI, even if your vehicle isn't technically moving or in motion.
I was not moving. Did you guys see me moving?
Owens fails a sobriety test, and when he refuses to take a breathalyzer test, well, you can guess what happens next.
Are you under arrest for DUI?
At the station, Owens continues to refuse the breathalyzer.
You can't
All
make me
I'm
do
asking you
a
right
test
now-
for something that I
all I'm
didn't
asking
do
you
because
right now
I
is
was
to
not
be-
driving.
Not happy with the officer's response, he makes his case to the camera.
There was no driving. I was
receive
completely parked.
refuse to be tested.
Completely parked. Car
You
was
understand
not
that?
in gear. The vehicle was not on.
Owens gets his 3rd DWI, and as part of his release, he must agree to mandatory drug testing. It's during one of these tests, before the trial, that police discover marijuana in his system. Now he's back in court to learn his fate.
It's clear the court that you violated your conditions of release that the court imposed upon you. So to ensure the safety of the community, I'm going to be changing your conditions of release.
His bond is increased, and a month later, he pleads guilty to his third DWI. Owens gets a suspended sentence of 364 days in jail and 3 years of supervised probation. But just when you think he may have finally learned his lesson, Owens has another run-in with the law, this time in Colorado. In 2018, Owens leads police on a high-speed chase and refuses to pull over. When police eventually catch up to him, he receives his fourth DWI. But this time, Owens is actually sent away. His previous probation is revoked, and he's sentenced to 5 months in a New Mexico jail. Welcome to the Grant County Courthouse in Sheridan, Arkansas. Maybe the most laid-back courthouse in America. The man who just walked out is Joey Watts, the defendant. Watts has been charged with aggravated assault and felony possession of a firearm after he allegedly threatened a woman at his home with a shotgun. As you can see, the vibe here is pretty chill. There's Watts' attorney, a couple of women chatting up the prosecutor. This woman's possibly checking her Instagram feed, but no sign of a bailiff. The jury's currently deliberating the weapons charge. But moments earlier, Watts was found guilty on the assault charge, and he's likely headed to prison. Except, wait, he walks out. Notice the man in yellow who taps the other guy just as no one's chasing after him. He's made it to the ground floor. Watch as he gestures towards something or someone. Without a care in the world, he heads for the main entrance. As he exits, notice he's got a little pep to his step. Outside and tasting freedom, Watts begins to jog. At this point, he's not about to take any chances. While Watts is making a break for it, inside the courtroom, the jury's just returned with a verdict on the weapons charge. Guilty. Watts' freedom is short-lived, as he's picked up by police the next day. And as it turns out, this was not a one-man job. 3 other people are arrested and charged with aiding Watts' escape, including one of the men from inside the courtroom, who happens to be Watts' brother, Jesse Watts. He's found guilty and sentenced to 6 years in prison. When Joey finally returns to court, he receives a combined sentence of 36 years in prison, 10 for the assault charge and 26 for the weapons possession. But for his brazen escape, no additional charges are brought against him. Watts is currently eligible for parole in 2025. Next, we're in Mount Clemens, Michigan, for a plea hearing. 39-year-old Denise Robertson has been charged with 6 felony counts of uttering and publishing, which means she manufactured and cashed fraudulent checks. Robertson's a habitual offender with 4 previous felonies on her record and faces a max sentence of life in prison. But today she's taking a plea deal in exchange for a lesser maximum sentence.
My client is asking for a referral for a drug court.
The county drug court is a prison diversion program established to help non-violent drug offenders.
Well, it seems as though her problem is she needs to learn how to write a check with a checking account that has her funds in it. How's drug court interplay with all this?
That's veteran judge Mary Chanowski. She's earned the nickname Scary Mary from defendants due to her tough approach from the bench.
The drugs were the root of her problems, Your Honor.
Why do you want to go to drug court? Other than trying to stay away from going to prison?
Because when I don't do drugs, I live okay.
So why do you do drugs?
I don't know.
Okay, and how long is this going on?
For the latest 5 years.
So, at any point in this 5 years, did you wake up and say, hey, I got a problem and I think I better do something?
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car. It put back on me the pills. And here I am today.
Now all of a sudden, you're looking at going to prison and you want to go to drug court. Now, is this an excuse to stay out of prison? Because I've just met you. Who's that? Come on up here. Let me hear what you have to say, because you seem to be more about everything that's going on. I want to know who you are.
We're back in Mount Clemens, Michigan, where 39-year-old Denise Robertson has asked the judge to send her to a drug court program instead of prison. But as she pleads her case, her brother comes forward in the gallery to voice his own opinion.
What's going on?
I believe she needs to get the book thrown at her. Somehow she keeps escaping on this drug stuff all the time. You know, the drugs are causing her to do this. She had an opportunity. She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives. Just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
Wake up, woman. They took away your kids. When are you going to wake up? Somebody else is raising your kids because you're doing nothing to help yourself. That's where I've got a problem, because this drug court was put in place to help people who want to help themselves. So do you think this drug court program is going to help her?
She's been through so many drug programs, it's pathetic. She's been in and out of rehab, left and right, and nothing ever helps.
After a short deliberation, Judge Chanowski makes a ruling.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to refer her to the drug court, not with the extensive record that she has, and certainly not with 8 new convictions on the record.
Denise Robertson was later sentenced to a minimum of 1 year and 11 months and a maximum of 14 years in prison for the 6 felony charges. Joining me now is Judge Mary Chernowski. Thanks for joining us, appreciate it. You were known as Scary Mary. Did you want defendants to be scared of you?
It is what it is. I am who I am. It is a style that I created as a judge. It was very effective. When I run into people on the streets and they say, hey, thanks, you saved my life. I needed to hear what you had to say. It turned my life around.
What do you say to those who say that the tough love part of this can be too much?
Being too tough? I don't think anybody can ever be too tough. I think a lot of people are hungry for someone to finally look them in the face and say, hey, you know what? You better get it together. You're going to lose everything. I think they never had it in their life. Nobody ever told them that they need to clean up their act. Now all of a sudden, you're looking at going to prison and you want to go to drug court.
Now we see that this defendant wanted to get into drug court. Tell us about what the purpose of drug court is.
What it is, it's a specialized court where we give defendants more attention. So we are focusing on them, we're getting them jobs, we're helping them with the rehabilitation. I need to decide, is this a candidate for drug court who is going to be able to deal with the rigors of drug court? We're on you every single day.
Had a situation like this where a family member comes up and actually asks for a stiffer sentence?
Oh, sure, Dan, all the time I would get that. I mean, it was a common thing. You're her brother. What's going on?
I believe she needs to get the book thrown at her. She has been going through this since she's been 20 years old, and it's just, this drug stuff is all just a big game.
I would have parents in the background asking me, please, get them in, keep them in. We are afraid to let them out in society because they hurt someone else. That was a daily event for me. Parents, whether it be parents or siblings or significant others.
How significant was it in your decision that she had already lost custody of her 4 kids?
It was very important to me because it showed to me that she was a very selfish individual who cared more about her addiction than she did about her children. She didn't want us to help her be a good mother, which is extremely selfish in my opinion, and it had a very big impact on how she was sentenced.
That's all for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.